The dawn of February 10th, 1258 was no ordinary morning in Baghdad. From the city's walls, smoke rose like dark banners across the horizon. The rhythmic crash of siege engines echoed through the streets, drowning out the call to prayer. Merchants abandoned their stalls, scholars clutched their manuscripts, and families huddled together, praying the Mongol army would never breach the gates. But beyond the walls, tens of thousands of soldiers waited, their catapults poised, their orders clear. Within hours, the most celebrated city of the Islamic world would face a reckoning that would echo for centuries. Before we dive deeper into this turning point in history, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring you more in-depth stories from the past, told with accuracy and detail. For over 500 years, Baghdad had stood as one of the greatest cities on earth. Founded in 762 by Caliph al-Mansur, it became the center of the Abbasid Caliphate and a beacon of learning, culture, and trade. The city was famous for its libraries, its bustling markets, and the legendary House of Wisdom, where scholars of different faiths translated and preserved knowledge from Greece, India, and Persia. By the mid-12th century, however, the Abbasid Caliphate was not the unstoppable empire it once had been. Its influence had shrunk to primarily the region around Iraq. Still, Baghdad remained a wealthy, symbolic capital, a city whose prestige made it a prize for any conqueror. Far to the east, a new power was reshaping the world: the Mongol Empire. Under Genghis Khan, the Mongols had forged the largest contiguous land empire in history, stretching from the steppes of Mongolia into China, Central Asia, and Persia. By the time of Baghdad's final days, Genghis Khan was long dead, and his empire was divided among his descendants. One of these heirs was Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis and brother to the great Khan Mongke. Hulagu's mission was clear: expand Mongol power westward into the Middle East, dismantling any kingdom or caliphate that might resist. Hulagu's campaign began with a series of decisive victories. He defeated the assassins of Alamat in Persia, destroying their strongholds. Then he turned his attention to Baghdad. In January 1257, Hulagu sent a message to the Abbasid Caliph al-Musta'sim, demanding submission, tribute, and the dismantling of the city's defenses. The Caliph refused, whether out of overconfidence, bad advice, or a belief that other Muslim powers would come to his aid. Unfortunately for Baghdad, those allies never came. In January 1258, Hulagu's army, estimated at perhaps 100,000 soldiers, including Mongols, Persians, and Christian allies from the region, encircled Baghdad. The Mongols were masters of siege warfare, using catapults, siege towers, and engineers from conquered lands. For a week, they bombarded the city walls relentlessly. The Tigris River, which had long been Baghdad's lifeline, became a barrier to escape as Mongol forces blocked every route. Panic spread within the city. On February 10, 1258, Baghdad's defenses finally collapsed. The Mongols entered the city, and what followed was one of the most infamous sackings in history. Contemporary accounts, many written decades later, describe mass killings, the destruction of mosques and palaces, and the burning of the House of Wisdom. Although historians debate the exact scale of the destruction, it is clear that a significant portion of Baghdad's population perished, and much of its infrastructure was ruined. One enduring image from these accounts is the Tigris River turning black, whether from the ink of countless books thrown into the water or from ash and blood remains uncertain. Caliph al-Musta'sim was captured alive. According to some sources, he was executed soon after, possibly by being rolled in a carpet and trampled by horses, an act meant to avoid shedding royal blood directly in accordance with Mongol custom. His death marked the end of the Abbasid Caliphate as a political power in Baghdad. Though later Abbasid rulers would exist in Cairo under the Mamluks, their role was mostly symbolic. The fall of Baghdad in 1258 sent shockwaves across the Islamic world and beyond. It was not just the loss of a city, it was the symbolic end of centuries of Islamic political unity under the Abbasids. The Mongols, however, did not stay in Baghdad for long. Hulagu left a small garrison before moving on to other campaigns. Within 2 years, the Mongol advance into the Middle East was checked at the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260 by the Mamluks of Egypt, a rare major defeat for the Mongols. Modern historians continue to debate the true scale of destruction in Baghdad. Some argue that medieval chroniclers exaggerated the devastation, using it as a cautionary tale of divine punishment for moral decay. Others maintain that the Mongol sack fundamentally changed the region, causing a centuries-long decline in Iraq's role as a cultural and economic hub. What is certain is that the Mongol conquest reshaped the political map of the Middle East and altered the balance of power for generations. The fall of Baghdad in 1258 remains one of history's turning points. It was a collision of two great civilizations, the Islamic Golden Age meeting the Mongol world order. The event has since been remembered in both history and legend, symbolizing both the fragility of empires and the far-reaching consequences of global conflict. As we look back at the fall of Baghdad, we see more than the clash of armies. We see a story about the rise and fall of civilizations, the fragility of knowledge, and the enduring consequences of choices made in moments of crisis. In 1258, the walls of Baghdad fell, but so too did the idea that any center of power, no matter how rich or influential, is immune to the forces of change.